All right, thanks everyone for joining. This is going to be our first RapDev webinar that we've had on SPM, Align Strategy Delivery Fast. We're going to be taking a look at a few slides to kick things off. Then we'll be jumping in and providing an end-to-end demo covering kind of three big portions of strategic portfolio management. So as a quick introduction, my name is Michael Scalia. I'm one of our engineering managers here at RapDev. I'm also serving as the practice lead for enterprise architecture and strategic portfolio management at RapDev. For those of you that don't know RapDev, we're an elite ServiceNow partner specializing in a number of products across the ServiceNow platform, SPM, ITOM, DevOps, ITSM, to name a few. You can see at the bottom here, customer satisfaction score, recognized accreditations, and a number of certifications that get us to that status. So we're going to kick things off with just a quick introductory poll here, just to gauge the audience. The first question is going to be, how would you rate your current SPM maturity? Non-exploring, ad hoc with emerging pilots, defined with some processes and governance, or more scaling and optimized with multiple portfolios running, projects and demands and financials rolling up to the strategic layer and things like that. So that poll should be coming your way any moment now. Looks like it's in flight. We'll give it another 20 seconds and then we'll continue on. Excellent. All right, so we've got a good mixture of varying maturities from the audience here. Appreciate that. Let's keep things rolling now. All right, so this one we'll call the digital transformation dilemma. So everyone's chasing digital transformation, with the promises of better productivity, standout customer experience, and faster innovation. But in reality, revenue-driven bets are under delivering. This comes from a bunch of complexity. An average of 360 applications per organization, equating to siloed data, fragmented policies and processes, and people just working harder just to navigate tools instead of doing the work that needs to be done. The impact on this is portfolios drift, data loses trust, decisions drag, and the cost of change skyrockets. Gartner put out a white paper recently that says 70% of digital investments miss outcomes without an SPM solution. The takeaway is the fix isn't working harder, it's continuously aligning strategy, funding, capacity, and delivery, and that's the purpose that SPM is meant to solve for. What's slowing value to customers? Innovation speeds up, but so does delivery complexity. Under tighter budgets and uncertainty during these times, taking a look here, poor alignment equates to wasted effort, teams working harder on the wrong things, portfolios drifting, pet projects sneaking in. Resource constraints slowing delivery, overcommitted teams, context switching, priorities colliding, low visibility and siloed working, status buried in slides and spreadsheets, no single source of truth, slow pivoting, low visibility equates to siloed working and multiple systems and mistrusted data, scattered work, stitched together manually, costs rise and confidence falls. The wake-up call is without SPM, most digital bets fail. And waiting only makes things a bit pricier. So the bridge here is, the fix isn't another dashboard; it's one operating model and one system and single source of truth equates from SPM. This is a quick slide on a study that ServiceNow put together, partnering with Forrester on the total economic impact. We've got a link provided there at the bottom. You can take a look at the study, but for the most part, this is 5 organizations that were interviewed and studied that are using SPM and wanted to talk about some of the value that's been realized from that. At a high level, it's faster time to value, bringing revenue, higher return on investment from portfolios tied to strategy, lower costs of change through a better alignment and visibility. So SPM isn't just about organizing work, it's about delivering measurable business impact. You can see here at the bottom, we've got a couple, ServiceNow customer feedbacks, from real world customers that have been using this. Leave this up for a second before we go on to the next one. Excellent. So here are the three levels of SPM that we're going to be focusing on today. And this is going to be a recurring theme throughout not only the slides, but also as we jump into the platform and take a look at some of our demo. So three layers, strategize, align, and deliver. So at strategize, it's all about capturing business goals and OKRs, things related to revenue, margin, net promoter score, and translate those into investment-backed roadmaps with clear measures of success. Align, so continuous, not annual planning, prioritizing and funding the right work within real capacity, one roadmap across all delivery methodologies, whether it's agile or safe or waterfall, hybrid, providing integrations into Jira and ADO to bring all that work into a single view that can roll up to the strategy layer. At the delivery side, teams use their best fit method, project workspace for different methodologies, safe and scrum of scrums for agile scale, measuring value against OKRs, leveraging AI to accelerate status, flagging risks, and suggesting similar work with you. So the bottom line here is strategize, align, deliver, flow, increases strategic aligned work, and shortens the path from planning to value realization. Down here at the bottom of the slide, you can see some of the key capabilities that we're going to be demoing in the later half of this presentation. Excellent. Okay, so here we have a look at the business transformation system of record, of the framework that we leverage every time we do a SPM implementation. You can see here a number of different products that ServiceNow, or modules within products that ServiceNow provides. Down there at the bottom, you've got the strategize, align, and deliver, color coding to just show the lens that we're looking at all of our implementations, just to make sure that we're not only looking at just solving a particular project or thing, we're taking a look at longer term, making sure that we're building out in accordance to best practices that ServiceNow provides. We're not introducing any technical debt. We're making sure that we're having a longer term strategic approach to implementing the SPM product. And for any existing ServiceNow customers, I'm going to provide a different lens on the business transformation framework. Here, we've introduced ITSM, ITOM, CRM, FSM, and asset management, along with risk and security operations, just so you can see that this is meant to be, or ServiceNow is trying to treat this as a single source of truth across all practices, not only just SPM. All right, and so here's finally, we've got simplified end-to-end SPM lifecycle. So here, going from left to right, you've got the value stream showing, going from strategy to value. Starting on the left-hand side, we're going to kick off our demo, focusing on goals and OKRs, followed by strategic roadmap planning, showing a bit of prioritization and how that equates to customers bringing in and consolidating the central pipeline of demand across a number of different products and areas across an IT organization, followed by continuous roadmap planning, and finally, delivering on that roadmap. And how we have integrations with other delivery tools, and we're just trying to consolidate things and just making sure that we're having an end-to-end value stream across all work that's going from strategy to delivery. All right, so next up, we just got one more poll. What best describes delivery tool landscape in your environment? ServiceNow SPM and a single dev tool, multiple tools with strong integrations, multiple tools with no integrations, and finally standardizing and consolidating now. Okay, great. So we had a good mix of responses here, but it seems to be out in the lead, multiple tools with weak, strong, no integration. So I think sticking with one of the common problem statements that we see, you can see that there's a lot of like disconnected teams, seeking an opportunity to try and consolidate things and being able to roll that up into the message that we have here, just being able to have a single source of truth for all delivery initiatives and so on. All right, so now we're going to get into a demo. I'm going to go in and pop into our demo instance and open up Strategic Planning Workspace. I'll start by introducing a fictional organization that has mainly 3 portfolios that they're looking at: AI, ML, digital workplace, finally ESG and sustainability ops. Those will be the 3 in scope portfolios that we're taking a look at today, followed by one last one that connects all of these. We'll call this one the strategy level plan. So these are all three-year roadmaps focusing on strategic priorities and the corresponding initiatives that are making up those efforts. So we're going to take a look at the strategy layer right now when this loads up. All right. So strategic planning workspace, is making up of a number of different modules. There's a feedback module, portfolio planning, enterprise agile planning, dashboards, and then some resource capacity planning and stuff. For the bulk of this demo, we're going to be focused on portfolio planning and some of the reporting capabilities that come out of that. So here at the top layer, you can see we're going to be taking a look at all the goals that the organization has set. So if I take a look, just scrolling down all the way at the bottom, we can see how our organization's goals are aligned to strategic priorities that have been set. So goals for the 3 years that we're looking at are, or strategic priorities for the next 3 years we're looking at are accelerating intelligent automation, advancing sustainability and circular economy, improving experiences with personalization and insights, operationalize responsible AI and governance, reduce financial and operational risk, and scale AI and digital infrastructure. That being said, scroll up to the top here. The goals dashboard provides a quick overview that you can dynamically filter by a number of different, number of different attributes depending on what you're trying to look at. Along the top here, you can see the total progress across all goals that have been set for this particular portfolio plan. So this is looking at all 3 of the portfolios that I mentioned previously: AI and machine learning, digital workplace transformation, and ESG. You can see the breakdown of how those individual portfolios are working towards those and what the progress is at. Next up, you can see different status levels that we have. So red, amber, green across the 11 goals that the organization set. Again, we have a breakdown by portfolio where you can just quickly take action and see where you might need to step in on things. Let's jump over to the goals list. You can just see a quick breakdown of not only the goals, you can group and ungroup all of these and just see the high level goals or OKRs that have been set, but then also what makes up those in form of targets. So from this menu here, you can see each individual target. When you're looking to, you can establish check-in periods along the way or different time boxing things. Hey, we want to have this goal for this particular year or this particular month. However you want to structure the system is incredibly flexible to support those. But this is just a kind of one-stop shop where you can go and check status or make updates on the fly. So right now, these are all manually set, just providing manual data across the way, where you can provide updates depending on whatever frequency you want to have checkpoints at. But one of the benefits of leveraging goals and targets within ServiceNow is that if you're using something like, let's say, ITSM, you have the ability to leverage data or leverage reports or automated indicators that you've built out across your instance to track the progress in real time. Like all of these are currently set in as manual updates, but if you were to have a a goal or a target that was set for reducing tier 1 HR and IT case handling time by 40%, you could plug that into the automated indicator that takes place in HRSD as an example, or something that's looking at incident data on the ITSM side and track in real time, what is our average MTTR going on over that time, and leverage that as the way to provide status for that particular target. But in this case here, this is all manually driven by just updates that you can make to the actuals to date attribute, which I'll expand a little bit. So as an example here, go and take a look and update this one to, let's just say 20% right now. And so this dynamically updates 50% for the progress for this particular target. But then if you roll up to the parent goal that's looking at accelerating intelligent automation, you can see that also updated as well. In addition to that, I'll also expand or bring in, let's hide this. And you can see the corresponding strategic priority that all of these align up and roll up to. So previously on that dashboard, just going back, you have the ability to see, all these goals broken out by strategic priorities. Just quickly zero in and identify something that needs to be, a more emphasis or focus on. So I'll scroll down a bit here and take a look at improving customer insights with Gen AI. We can see that this one, we've got it yellow right now. So there's a couple targets that are falling behind or have not really had any work started on them yet. Launch Gen AI powered sentiment dashboards for 3+ product lines by Q1 2026, and also reach 90% reach 90% summarization accuracy on structured customer feedback by Q2 2027. Us to go in and click in on these, you can take a look at specifically, who's contributing to that goal, what are the metrics, how are we tracking it, what's the check-in frequency for it before, whether that's a monthly or quarterly, whatever it may be. You have the ability to add comments and different attachments on this, but wanted to highlight a couple areas where we can take a look at what projects or what planning items and work is contributing to the success or working towards that goal. So for improving customer insights with Gen AI, some of the aligned work efforts that we have right here, looks like we've got a couple of demands and projects associated with this one, or projects that have been converted from demands. Document Intelligence V1 system rollout, and also Sentiment Insights MVP. Looks like this project's currently in yellow. So we can revisit that, or we can look at specifically, what's involved with that particular project directly from that space as well. I'll revisit that in a moment. All right, next up, let's go and let's take a look at some of the prioritization. So if we go down to scoring here, we can take a look at, we've got all 3 portfolios that I mentioned before in this particular portfolio plan. So we've got these grouped by the different portfolios, but you have flexibility in bring in any different attribute that you want to group or sort, filter by, to see if you're leveraging business applications or products or business services capabilities. You have the ability to just bring those in and take a different lens on that. Or if you have a portfolio plan that's for a different persona, whether it's, we've seen portfolio plans that are more for like, product teams. So if we have demands or ideas and feedback coming in, we can use portfolio plans, albeit with limited functionality, to use this as a prioritization mechanism. So on this note here, there's a couple of different frameworks that are out of box here. For this one, we're using WSGIF, but there's a couple other out-of-box frameworks that are involved here that just based on product management, best practices, and things like that. But you have a quick breakdown of how you want to score these demands and or projects, and how you want to provide data-driven details to make data-driven decisions that come in, and how you want to plan on where you want to put your investments in this case. So all of these from this view here. It's common for us to see organizations that have a triage meeting where they're going through these and in real time and just going on the fly and making updates to these and dynamically updating the prioritization score. So I can go and sort all of these and maintain the groupings of this one just to see what scored the highest and what seems to be the most valuable for the organization and for this particular team. So WSJIF's a common one, looking at user business value, time criticality, risk reduction, and job size. You can quickly jump into each of the records just to see what that work entails. So if these were all demand records that were coming in from an intake pipeline, you have the ability to start to recognize what that request initially is, and then also start to take action with identifying some of the financials or costs associated with it. In this case here, we could just start to click through some of these. Let's start with resourcing, actually. So you can take a look at this project. Some of the resource assignments that we have is, this is going to require a UX designer and a data scientist over the course of these fiscal periods. Jumping along, you can see the particular financials that are associated with this, and you have the ability to do budgeting straight from strategic planning workspace now. So if we have any folks on the call that have been using investment funding or one of the legacy solutions within ServiceNow, we've been helping customers migrate to strategic planning workspace, where ServiceNow made a lot of investments over the past couple releases and will continue to do so, adding in different capabilities and things like that. But budget allocation was a big one in a recent update. Yeah, so now you've got under the financials tab, you've got all cost plans. So previously, it's still on the record, but if you take a look at a project or demand record in the related list, you'd see all different cost plans and stuff. Now that's been consolidated into this view where you can now do budget forecasting and take a look at anything financial related directly from this workspace. So moving along, we've got this is the data point that connects into the goals dashboard that was shown before. So this project's related to improving customer insights with Gen AI. And then finally, we've got just high level milestones. And so these are project tasks. If you take a look at the project record, which we'll jump into, but that are just denoted as milestones that appear in this view. So leadership or portfolio managers, whatever that persona might be, can quickly see what the high-level milestones are for a project without needing to go in and see all of the detailed project task and who that's assigned out to. Things like that. Product ideas and feedback. This is similar to like the idea portal, but it's kind of the next evolution of it. Feedback provides a way for customers or end users to on the spot provide feedback, and ServiceNow has mechanisms for doing some sort of sentiment analysis to just be able to provide product managers, probably most common, just some additional insight on how they would want to prioritize or introduce new enhancements or address bugs and things like that. Some of the work that we've done with customers is implement chat op solutions that take a look at a customer's or allow customers to look at Microsoft or use Microsoft Teams or Slack to just do a basic command that's /feedback. They're presented with a drop down selection of different products or business applications that they're working on, and then they can quickly chat what the feedback is. Hey, this view isn't working, or I'm getting an error message at this one, or hey, I'd like to see this particular capability automated to an extent, and things like that. From this view here, I'll just quickly jump over to the monetary benefit plans that you can populate here for these initiatives, and just you have this all consolidated so that you can see when you go back here, you can see all the financials related to this. So you can see the total plan cost for each initiative and total plan benefit. And just as a note, we're going to save probably 5-10 minutes to the end if there's any questions here. So don't have the ability to see the audience or anything like that here. So if there's any questions, just please, throw them in the chat, and we'll make sure to address those. And if there's any follow-ups after this, we can address those as needed. Appreciate it. All right. So let's jump down. So that was prioritization and scoring here. A lot of flexibility in different frameworks that you can use to do this. So we covered goals, we covered scoring, and now we'll cover planning. So planning is made up of 4 modules. I think we've got 3 of them to share, it looks like right now, but we've got prioritization, the roadmap, and a financials view where you can do, scenario planning and things like that. So I'm going to group this by portfolio if we have it. Otherwise, yeah, let's bring that in. And again, if you had portfolios that are specific to like a product team, things like that, you could group this by product or business application, a way to see, okay, what's our roadmap and how are we prioritizing things by different products, but still be able to maintain that flexibility of seeing everything in one consistent portfolio plan. So here you've got a high-level view of the prioritization score that it was aligned to, and just some additional data points. And this is just really a list view of all planning items, whether it's a project or a demand or an epic, or any custom planning item that you've introduced. And you can just start to bring in whatever attributes you want. Hey, what's the status of this? What's the priority? What's our current progress? And then, certainly financials associated with that. So let's jump over to the roadmap, where you can start to see our first nice Gantt chart visual of all the planning items that are associated in this one. I think for the most part, these are all just demands and projects, but from this view, you have the ability to click in and see. I think I teased it a little bit earlier, but you have the ability to see what the high-level milestones are associated with this particular project, along with any other quick details that you can jump into. I'll turn on tracking mode quickly just so you can see an even better visual that encompasses how the kind of whatever data points you pull into to track progress of that. So sentiment insights MVP. I think earlier we looked at this from a goal perspective. The goal was yellow because of the project was turning yellow. Yeah, so you have the ability just to drill down into the project from there, but I'll stop right there and we can introduce that in a second. All right, let's take a look at, just to tie things off at the strategic level, let's take a look at scenario planning. So one of the most valuable features that we have with strategic planning workspace is the ability to define scenarios for building out your roadmaps, whether it's 3 years or whether it's just a fiscal year, whatever the length may be. You have the ability to see like, hey, if we introduce these projects, what would our benefits look like? So you can create a number of different scenarios to plan out your roadmap sharing, and then you can include certain planning items in that, and just take a look at different scenarios as it relates to what's the overarching benefit going to look like, or hey, if we decide to focus our efforts on AI compared to like digital workplace transformation, you have the ability to just compare and contrast that. So I just jumped into a scenario that's been built out. So along the left-hand side here, you can see the portfolio outcomes of going with this particular one. And you can also simulate things too. So you can build these out on the fly. You have the ability to like add and remove projects, or all that flexibility of, hey, if we want to, not exclude this project, we want to punt on this project and move this to another fiscal year. We have the ability to work with that and just see how different scenarios would play out. At a high level, you can see the high-level financials. So you define targets for each particular scenario. So I think with this one, we had $2 million over the course of each fiscal year, spread over CapEx and OpEx. You can see the total simulated budget that's based on work that has been applied. So in this particular one, we have additional funding to take on new projects or new work that might be coming in from our central demand intake. And finally, total benefit associated with just executing this plan right here. So right now, total simulated budget of $1.1 million. So we're operating under budget right here. We're also where we have a greater benefit than the amount of money that we're putting into this one. And down here at the bottom, you can also see how those align to different organizational goals that have been set. So this portfolio plan is focused on an executive team leadership that's looking at overseeing all portfolios or how things have been built out. But you can think of building out portfolio plans as definitely persona based. Like I mentioned before, like this could be leadership, or this could be product team that's focused on prioritizing enhancements for their product backlog, things like that. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you build these out. How we're demoing things right now might be different than your particular organization's needs, or how you use SPM. Like there's no requirement to include financials in any of this as well. But with that, I'm just going to take a step back as we have financials, and I will just quickly jump in for a poll. So when this gets launched out, you can see a question pop up. How often do you rebalance portfolio funding and priorities? I almost wish this question was phrased up as, are you doing funding within ServiceNow or within SPM? It's one of the common challenges we run into is that financial systems are often disconnected from SPM, or there's no requirement to necessarily track financials within SPM. So got the responses back right now. Let's take a look at this. So how often do you rebalance portfolio funding? So we've got annually, a couple responses, monthly and continuous. That's great. And only when issues arise. Okay, excellent. All right, so let's jump back into the demo. If I can get this loaded. All right. So we covered scenario planning. I don't think I mentioned this before, but for being able to set targets, I covered it a little bit on the financial side, but within this scenario, or whatever scenarios you're defining to compare, you have the ability to set different targets for each of those from here. So I'd navigate to the right side. You can change the different time scales. Like you don't need to do budgeting and funding at a fiscal year level. You can also do that monthly or quarterly, whatever your organization's requirements are. Okay. So now let's take a look at trying to think of the best way to do this. I want to just quickly show you another plan just to uncover the capacity management. I don't have it ready for this particular one, but let's jump into AI and ML portfolio plan. All right, so this is a one that's been built out specifically for this portfolio. So like I said before, you have the ability to create different portfolio plans based on different lenses that ServiceNow has provided. I can quickly skim that if we have a couple minutes at the end. But this particular one, the filter criteria is just, hey, let's look at projects, demands, and I think epics that have a portfolio of AI ML. So as long as you structured, any demands that come in, or if you have a catalog item record producer that that has, it's for collecting demands or ideas. You can have those automatically roll in and populate into this, like I said before, with like the example of a product team managing enhancements and stuff that come through. And one of the good things about this is like different persona views. Like this is definitely closer to like a dashboard where the data is living behind the scenes than it is independent records that belong to each of these portfolio plans. And so like the the sentiments insights MVP project, this is all the same data that was on that previous strategy level plan, if that makes sense. But what I wanted to show here in particular was the ability to do capacity planning directly, now directly from the same workspace that you're looking at your high level financials and your high level roadmap in, just so that you can make sure that we actually have capacity to deliver on some of these efforts. So as resource assignments are created for demands and projects, depending on how you've set up your resource hierarchy of groups, skills, and roles, you have the ability to define out what type of lens you want to do capacity reviews on. So in this case here, we're looking at doing resource management based on roles. So if I do auto select, it's going to automatically take a look at all planning items that we have in our portfolio, on our portfolio plan, and then extract all of the roles that have been defined as resources that are needed to execute on those projects and demands. So in this case here, there's 6 or 7 of them: data scientist, engineering lead. Those are pulled from actual resource assignments that have already been created. But if I was to manually do this, this can be defined out in advance for whatever your organization's requirements are, so that when new future resource assignments are created, those will automatically get pulled in as well. Like an example of that might be, let's just pretend we have there's no like product manager on here. So we've got product owner, but if we wanted to introduce product manager for future ones, you can manually create or manually select and add that into here so that it's already being pulled in for any capacity reviews. Some flexibility in how you can group resources by leveraging, again, one of those, like any of the planning attributes, so groups, roles, and skills. Here, this is bringing in all groups, but the chatbot team or core HR team might not be relevant, or the credit card team is not going to be relevant for the AI and machine learning portfolio. So we can take a look at like AI automation team, and then within that, here's the different roles that we have. And within that, we've got, if we don't have it defined in this demo, but if you had specific skills within that, within those roles, that you can dynamically drill down and get more specific on the type of resource that you'd like to try and pull in, or make sure that we have adequate skills for to be able to deliver on some of these efforts. Take a look from an FTV or utilization perspective. As you can see here, there's a bunch of green, so we've got the ability to leverage a lot of the $2 million funding that we have to build out projects and demands on this one in a lot of capacity. So just quickly wanted to show that. And then now let's jump back into, where is it? Let's take a look at that project that went, that was going amber. All right, so go back here into the roadmap. Again, roadmap and tracking mode. This is an effective view. If I click on any of these, you can see the high level things. But I'll quickly jump down into the execution URL. And so what this is going to do is dynamically bring up project workspace. And so here's our kind of second and third layer, alignment and execution here. So project workspace, this is new as of, at least a couple releases ago now. It's an improvement to legacy project workbench, I think it was called, where you can see we've got those high level milestones that are built out here. And if we had project plans built out with more granular tasks, you have the ability to see all of those here as well. Don't have that for this demo. One of the other benefits of leveraging project workspace and upgrading to that is the ability to do resource assignments and resource management directly from the same view that you're building out your project plans in. So toggle at the top here is for resource assignments, and then you can define out again, going back, role, skill, and group. You can define out what specific type of resource we need to be able to execute this one. So in this case here, we're just looking at roles. We need a UX designer and a data scientist. And you can see that for these particular fiscal periods that this project is running for, here's the number of hours that we're going to need someone on this project. All right, so this project has gone amber. Let's take a look at some of the functionality that we can use to identify what's going on with it. The RIDAC is built in here, so we've got 5 risks associated with this project. The ability to take action and look at specifically what's going on, whether or not there's any mitigation plans in place, or be able to call out and convert any of these risks into change orders or create any issues or any actions that we can use to mitigate said issues. Some additional functionality that's built right in here is some specific analytics or project reporting that's dynamic to that project. So it's going to call out things like the issues and risks and actions dynamically on there. If it's a hybrid or agile project, you can see specifically what the story backlog looks like. So for me, this project tells me it's 60% complete, but we've got 5 stories or 4 stories that are ready. This is telling me right now that there's likely some stories that are blocked or that haven't been started on. So from here, myself as a project manager, I can go in and see that there's some outstanding items that were originally scoped out for this effort. In this case here, we've got 4 stories. You can see the assignment group or the agile team that those are specifically assigned out to, and the state to manage those. So I'm going to jump back into strategic planning workspace just to show a little bit. I'm going to show 2 things quickly, and I'm looking at the clock here, so I'll be quick with this one. So just to show different personas, right? Like we've shown strategic planning workspace in the roadmap, certainly for like a portfolio manager, leader. We covered project manager, and now we can take a look at the agile team. As I mentioned before, right? Like there was outstanding stories for particular teams. From this view here, this is for product teams and agile teams to go in and based on whatever hierarchy that you've established or your organization's using, as it relates to SAFe for any agile methodology you're using, you can leverage this to manage a series of epics and sprints and themes, and there's different levels that you have the ability to just do Kanban type of planning and backlog management for. So in this case here, we had 4 stories. I'm filtered on, these are all different agile teams on the left-hand side here. This is AI, automation, and support intelligence, but I think we had one that was for, this is it. So customer insights and NLP team. So if I click on this agile team, you can see the number of different projects that have stories that are related to them. And so these are all, you have the flexibility to go in, add comments directly from here. So if you're familiar with like Agile Board, this is an improved way of managing your Agile backlog with the ability to roll things up, and you have additional context that wasn't available in Agile Board or things like that. If your engineers or your delivery teams are leveraging like ADO or Jira, we have the ability to tie that data in and have reference to those stories and have things dynamically update. So engineers might be working out of those particular solutions, but we're treating ServiceNow as a single source of truth for managing all delivery efforts, right? Going back to that business transformation framework here, making sure that we have a single source of truth for everything. All right, with 1 minute left here, just going to quickly go to show you new portfolio plans and just the different type of lenses that are out of box here that you can build yours out of. So I think those examples that we showed before were project portfolios, where it's pretty simple. You define out what portfolio you want to use, set the filter criteria for it, and then it's just a combination of demands and projects that you're using as your planning items. So planning items being all of those different work items that you can prioritize and showcase on that same roadmap. So a lot of these are just demands and projects, but there's a number of different planning items that you can use, like epics as well, and also goals. You have the ability to actually like prioritize which goals you want to focus on and things like that. And if you had custom planning items that you wanted to use, whether it's like even incidents or something on the ITSM side or something on the HR side, you can bring those in here. You can bring those into SPW and do all of the activities that I was mentioning before. Aside from resource and financials, I think you can do like all the road mapping and all the prioritization stuff directly from here. So with that, I'll jump back in and we'll take a look at our final poll. What is your biggest bottleneck from strategy to delivery? So while we have this poll up, I think there was one question that came through in the chat. It was, we're in the process of revisiting portfolios and how we structure those in SPM. Curious on what general consensus is for best strategy for portfolio setup. So I've seen organizations that use portfolio. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you build out your portfolio hierarchy. I've seen organizations that have portfolios one-to-one with like business units or departments. I've seen other organizations that treat portfolios completely separate from any organizational hierarchy that you have structured there. So a bit of a cop-out answer, but I think best strategy is definitely communication and making sure that whatever strategy has been put in place on how you want to define portfolios, that you have maybe reference or tie back into that organizational structure. So maybe another way of answering that question is maybe taking a step back and I would ask whether or not that organizational data has been fully populated in the core ServiceNow tables, just kind of taking things back to CSDM, right? There's a lot of metadata on project records and demand records and really any CI record too, if you want to leverage that, that can be populated on these things. So like right now I'm opening up, maybe not the best example of one, but if I look at a project record, like there's a lot of organizational data that can be populated as metadata in addition to portfolio. And like with the addition of portfolio lenses, like I was showing before, like you have the ability to bypass all portfolios in general. And you can do portfolio planning by, the organizational component. So like if you have, companies and product models defined, or you have business units, departments, and companies defined as the organization, like you can leverage that. And maybe as a way to quickly categorize and get some of those benefits of organizing work efforts in, portfolio can be an interim solution while you build out a further or more mature organizational references to be able to start planning things better in. So this is probably a good view to show up before, like not necessarily only using you can use portfolios intermittently as you're building out your company's organizational data within the platform. Okay, with that, we'll take a look at the responses from the poll. All right, so biggest bottlenecks from strategy delivery. So in last place, we had setting and cascading goals and OKRs. Okay, it's fair. Prioritization and funding. Okay, then we had a tie for prioritization and funding decisions, capacity and resource visibility, and measuring value and benefits and OKR. I think we didn't get a chance to dive too much into resource and capacity or measuring value, like then at the back end of this one as part of this one, but we're going to take an internal note. I think that might be a good session for an upcoming webinar in the future at some point. So with that, take a look at we've got a few minutes for Q&A. Thought I had a specific slide here for it, but if I don't, that's okay. I'll leave this up, and if there's any questions with the last couple minutes we have, feel free to throw those in the chat. What version of portfolio planning are you using? So we're using SPM Pro. I think that might have been the question. So what version of SPM are we using? This is SPM Pro, and one of the benefits that you have of doing so is, I believe, enterprise agile planning and feedback might only be available with Pro. But the good news is this portfolio planning is available to all SPM standard SKU users. It's best to always consult with your your ServiceNow account team, just to confirm that you're entitled to use these. But anyone that is on a non-legacy ITBM SKU should be able to use portfolio planning and do everything that was covered, at least in this demo, aside from enterprise agile planning. So all of the functionality that you get, at least that's my understanding, you'd be able to use this entire portfolio planning module, take a look at scoring, planning, roadmap and financials. There might be some limitations as it relates to goals with standard SKU, but for the most part, the portfolio planning aspect should be covered. As well as getting access to some out-of-box dashboards and stuff that you're entitled to as well. Oh, apologies. What release? Release, I forget. I think in this particular demo instance, we've upgraded to Zurich. And I think Zurich introduces some dashboard enhancements and probably some enhancements to scenario planning, but I'd have to confirm that. If it's not on Zurich, I think it's on Yokohama. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.